You're presenting a collectible, a scarce collectible, like a giveaway. And you didn't produce it in those numbers. So a lot of people are like, oh, cool, I'll just go to my local shop and grab a copy. And it's like, you're not going to find it. You're immediately introducing a level of dissatisfaction to the people who are most receptive to your promotion. Why would you do that? Why in the world would you ever do that?
Come on and visit for any occasion. Don't keep patting down waiting. Comics and conversation. Keep the conversation moving along. Keep bringing comics. Keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
Okay, look, we are not technological masters. You are way more tech savvy than I, but I think I figured out what went wrong with the car recording last week. And for people that just listen to this podcast on a normal podcast app or stream, it was, car noise, but it wasn't like I left all the horrific stuff in for the patrons because they get the unedited version.
They do.
So of that 20-minute conversation where we had to cut out 10 random minutes, not in a row, but all scattered throughout.
Yeah.
They got it all plugged in.
Oh, okay.
One person responded and said, "Thank you for that homage to Charlie Brown's Teachers."
Sure.
Because that's actually a pretty great guess of what it sounded like.
Yeah, that's not good.
So everybody else just got subjects chopped off right in the middle.
Right.
But I put in beeps to say, hey, this is where we cut.
Sure.
Anyway, I think it's, even though we turned the radio off because it's not called sync, but whatever the car phone system is in my Jeep, it was recording us through that microphone and not through the phone.
Oh. And
even though we turned that off, getting a call in the middle of it kicked it back in, and we couldn't. And even though that noise is happening in the car, you hear me saying, "Wait, is that cutting off the recording at all?" But it wasn't.
Okay.
So what I need to do, if we ever record in the car again, and look, we only ever record in the car for convenience.
Sure.
Like if it's a timing issue or if we're doing a thing for the store in the car.
I mean, this isn't car con carne.
Exactly.
It's not our aesthetic to record in the car.
Sure. So sometimes we will record in the car. Like that, we had all three of us coming back from the show. It was right. We didn't have time to then record after that, after we got back in our destination. Plus we needed to be in the car for a little bit.
Right.
Anyway, what I need to do is disconnect the Bluetooth from my phone before we record in the car.
Yeah.
It'll still sound like we're in a car. You can't help but get that ambient rushing car noise.
Sure.
The same way you can always tell when we record in the store. Same noise, just different levels. So I apologize to everyone for the quality of last week's. Obviously, we didn't know that's how it sounded when it was being recorded. But at that point, it was like, well, we either chop out this 20 minutes entirely, and we had already recorded the rest of it. We didn't know.
Yeah, and I think in the recording afterwards, we referenced stuff in the earlier recording.
Yeah.
So there's topics we didn't cover, and there's things that we were saying that wouldn't make a ton of sense.
So just like now, where you can hear the air conditioning in the background, it's not terrible.
No.
But I see every once in a while someone will reference a specific mixer they use or show their setup or talk about the software they use and everything. And I thought, yeah, if podcasting was such a bigger part of our store's identity, which I guess it is, but if we had a dedicated podcast room or something, sure, we could build something out. I mean, and the sound quality could be great.
I think it's less that if it was more part of our identity and more just if it was a larger revenue stream in some way. Like if this podcast had actual paying sponsors beyond, patrons and stuff, that would be a thing where we would take that money and put it towards better equipment. Probably not going to do that real soon. Maybe eventually, but not on a roadmap or anything.
I mean, there was a time when we would use freestanding microphones with the filters in front and headphones and everything, but
there's a version of late 2023 where I could see us maybe trying to find, like, what's an economical way of achieving that?
Sure, but my point is, the sound quality of that wasn't significantly better than what we do now.
Yeah.
And it was so much more upkeep, and there was always so much more potential for failure, for things to go wrong.
Sure.
We bought a specific an iPod recording device that Colt Cabana had used at one time. I'm like, oh, I'll get one of those. Mm-hmm. But then, those no longer became compatible. Technology goes away. And I recently went through a drawer of old technology in my desk, and there's so many things that I have still. I'm like, why do I have this?
Right.
Why do I have this old tape video camera system? Not like VHS tape, but still like the
a little mini cassette. Yeah.
Or like one that I kept, which I'm like, this is never going to work. I can't remember what it's called. It was like the View camera. The camera that was just like the size of a cigarette box, and it had a little arm that popped out with a USB you'd plug in. Like, that was the store's video camera for a while.
Oh, okay.
Things like that. It's like, now it's just phones.
Yeah, it got replaced.
It's just
obsolete. It's okay to throw that stuff away or recycle it somehow.
Yeah.
It's I am also going to be going through a process of, like, digging through old boxes and drawers and stuff, and there's going to be a lot of stuff where it's like, I saved this because I thought I'm going to need this cable at some point, and it's been like 5 years, and I haven't used that cable. Probably okay to throw it away now.
Yeah, literally, I have 2 boxes of gear that it's like, you're never going to use this. You're never going to... Like, when I was doing a lot of interviews for the Detritus zine, interviewing heavy metal musicians and rock stars, as it were.
Sure.
I bought a digital recorder specifically to hook up into a landline to be able to record. That's not a thing anymore.
No.
Like, I'm sure that digital recorder still works as a digital recorder, but I barely ever used it.
What would you ever plug it into?
Yeah. And also, I don't do that as such anymore. And also, there's, you
do it over Skype or something, probably. And there's plenty of programs that'll handle that.
Zencaster is what we use.
Sure.
Thanks to Marcus Onasso's recommendation.
Sure.
And it records into separate channels, and it's free so long as you don't overuse it, and blah, blah. Plus, we go out, we don't do that many...
Remotes?
Yeah.
No.
We don't do many interviews like that. Even if we do interview now, it's like, we'll try to get together with the person. Sure. Or, I gotta tell you, there's so many things recently where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna just get quick snippets and put them all together for part of the podcast episode. Like, 3 weeks ago when Jen Haynes was in town, I'm like, oh, we could, like, talk just for a couple minutes about retail and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Never happened. At C2E2, I was going to do it at every table we were at. Didn't do it.
Yeah.
Also, like, part of it is, I forget, part of it is I don't really know what the value of it is, aside from saying, hey, we're talking to Mike Norton.
Sure.
And another part of it is I don't want to interfere with their day.
I think, to me, there's a kind of a fourth thing that's maybe a subsection of the third thing, which is that I don't want to make my experience always have to be work.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
No, I understand.
Like, there's a point where you're hanging out with someone who maybe is in the industry or maybe, is at an industry event and having to stop things to go like, hey, cool, we're just going to record it quick, like 3 minutes for our podcast. It's like, now you've killed the vibe. Like, who wants to be doing that?
But I think of it as the point of view of people who don't get those experiences that, like, we can share that as well.
Yeah.
I think it's a way of saying, like, hey, this is a thing that we want to give you if you can't get it yourself.
To me, the difference is if we did stuff like that, it would be at like a Challengers event. Like, hey, we're having a signing with whoever. Let's talk to whoever and find out how their trip went and, their new project and whatever. Like, if you can't make it to the signing, now you got the experience of hearing from them about their projects. But when it's like, we're out to dinner with somebody, I don't want to be like, all right, now we got to do a quick thing for work. Like,
I hear you.
No,
it does make sense. And whilst we were away last Thursday, Andrew did a TikTok or two with visiting artist Wes Craig.
Nice.
Get like one of him signing, drawing in Andrew's book, and then one of him talking about the upcoming Kaya series he has coming out.
Cool.
And those are 20 seconds a piece or whatever.
Sure.
So those are fine. But inevitably, I think that what we have works as far as our setup goes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it works in like a work-life balance sense.
Yeah, and it's like...
where I think we provide enough content or entertainment or value or whatever to people while still having it not be like an encroachment upon our lives to a degree that we are thinking about things we do more in terms of the podcast, and I don't want to live that way.
No, and I know that. I know there's plenty of times in the week I'm like, oh, we should save this conversation, and then inevitably forget it and don't get back to it.
Yeah.
But it is gratifying to have people like Brian Garside talk about it regularly on his platform.
The Manage Comics Thoughtstream,
which
we both watched today.
Yep.
And I thought it was very informative. I've said this a million times, and I'll probably keep saying it a million more times. I really appreciate how transparent Brian is with his development process and what he's creating for his clients. Those thought streams are... Do I need to be shouting?
No, you're fine. You're fine. What Dale's referencing is, as he was talking, I was moving the microphone slowly to him because I realized it should always be closer to you than to me.
Okay.
But from the way we sit, it always looks like it's a million miles away from you. And I've measured it before. It's the same distance.
It's just an optical illusion.
It's because of your horrible posture.
I do. I slouched real bad.
You're not sitting. You have melted into that seat.
Yeah, I'm most of the way out of this chair. It's nice.
I mean...
It's real nice.
Foot on a box.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you're using that backrest as much as you can. So
that's good. Mean, at this point, I am far below your eye line, which if anyone has ever been to Challengers or looked at a piece of artwork featuring Patrick and myself, you'll know that is uncommon.
Almost never the case.
But anyway, we watched the Manage Comics Thoughtstream, and I do greatly appreciate how transparent Brian is, both in the larger sense of how he communicates with the people who use Manage Comics in the roadmap and all the other stuff and the emails, but there's also the weekly thought streams where it's frequently just, here is a thing that we're working on, a thing that we're about to roll out, or here's stuff that we're working on because you've asked for it. And the one thing we always wish for it, and Patrick and I had talked about this between when we watched the thought stream and then before we started recording, the thing we always want from Brian is kind of the one thing that because it's software development, we can never, ever get, which is, give me the day this is going to be ready. Like, when you're talking about something like the point-of-sale integration that we've been looking for literally since day one.
I believe you mean the new Manage Comics helper tile.
Whatever. Yeah, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, something like that. I add the word tile to it, but helper was the...
But what we were...
I hope it's an acronym.
We've been looking for that. That helper was the name of the robot from the Venture Brothers. Yeah. I hope it's not the same acronym, probably. But we've been waiting for that for a long, long time, and there have been updates, and there's been false starts, and there's been stuff that was just about to roll out and then kind of wasn't ready to go. But this one feels like it's imminent, but it's also sort of been imminent for the last few weeks and the last few thought streams.
But it's getting tighter. They're tightening it up.
It is, and it's the most recent version that Brian showed off today addressed pretty much every criticism and every concern that we might have had about it. Feature-wise, it looks very complete. But the problem is it's software, so that means that it has to go out to testers, and it has to go through, since it's going to be on Shopify's platform, it needs to go to Shopify to test as well.
And has to have a verification process.
So while we're looking at it as is it going to be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week? Brian can't say because Brian doesn't know. And the last thing you want to do is overpromise a feature like this. You don't want to say end of the week, and then it's well, Shopify won't get it back to you until 10 days from after you submit it, so who knows? Or it could be more likely it's a range of days where maybe you get it back in 48 hours, maybe you get it back in 2 weeks. Maybe they have some random criticism that you weren't expecting that suddenly means that you have to spend a bunch of hours and days addressing those concerns and then resubmitting it.
Yep.
So yeah, that's always the thing that we want is it'll be live Friday, and it's he can't ever say that. It's just it'll be live soon, and hopefully soon is within a week. I don't know. I can't know.
It's getting closer.
But yeah, it's this week's thought stream was very interesting, and it had stuff that felt like it was directly addressing things that we've told Brian about, either publicly or privately,
or indirectly via this podcast.
I count this as publicly.
Okay.
but it's got the POS stuff is coming along and hopefully is going to be ready to go very soon. Something Patrick talks about a lot, and according to Brian, a lot of people have requested, is the ability to move something onto a customer's account after it's already arrived, which is a thing that we used to be able to do all the time with Comic Suite.
I remember the day that
kind of didn't have a way to do it.
Brought out that functionality, and the way you told me, because you knew it was the thing I talked about all the time.
Sure.
And you're like, guess what they did? Mm-hmm. I still remember you telling me that. I'm like, and it was a game changer.
Yeah.
And it was a thing that people got used to.
Yeah, I mean,
so it'll be real nice to have it back.
That's the thing we've sort of talked about is, in theory, we shouldn't really let people put stuff on hold or add stuff to their account, put it in my box after it's already arrived, because that's not the point of a pre-order system like a subscription service. The point is you tell us in advance, and then when it comes out, we set it aside, and then you come buy it. Like, once it's already come out, you buy it or you don't.
Yeah. But...
And we tried briefly, when we switched over to Shopify and Manage Comics, to switch people over more to, like, we'll invoice you for this extra thing that's come out, because Manage Comics didn't have that functionality, and Shopify doesn't really have a way to reserve stuff. It kind of does now, but not in a way that we would start using a whole lot. But there was a lot of resistance to it. People kind of didn't understand, and I get this. Why things that are on hold for them, they don't need to pay for, but this thing that's already out, that we have to invoice you for separately right now before we can set it aside. Like, the idea of those being two different things, groups of things, is hard to explain to people who don't work in comics retail, and kind of, it was a thing that we never used to really push back on. It would just be like, fine, we'll throw it aside for you, because we didn't have an online inventory, so it didn't matter if we were setting something aside. Now it matters because it could be bought online, but it's in someone's box, and that sort of sucks. So hopefully, we'll be able to get back to the point where we can start doing that again, because, currently all we're doing is we're just throwing it in someone's subscription box and hoping no one buys it online. That's a gamble I don't like doing. It's kind of anxiety-inducing, because all it takes is one person trying to buy that and then giving you a really hard time about it when you have to cancel that order. To
also, if it's
start
in
getting real
someone's
mad
box,
at a whole bunch of different people.
You're not necessarily going to know that. You're just going to be like, we can't find it. The inventory thinks we have one.
Yep. And we've done that before. We've turned the inventory down on something because it's like, well, there was a discrepancy, and then it's like, well, the discrepancy was it was in someone's box and it's been sitting there for 6 weeks.
Yeah. And
we didn't know that because it's not technically on anyone's account. It's just in a box.
But now 6 weeks seems way too long.
It does, and yet. So yeah, Manage Comics was a really good thought stream today. If Brian's listening to this, I'm not real. I don't need the whole notify me when mail order customers have to go out.
But it's a thing you'd want. It's a quality of life improvement.
It's a thing. It's a bunch of extra steps I've got to do, and it's But at the end of the day, it was really just like, we got some time. I'll throw this out there and see what people think. Like, maybe Brian thinks it's a bad idea. Maybe Brian thinks it's easy to integrate. Maybe other people would have some questions or concerns about it. Like, it was mostly just because there was time. I
thought you were asking about the product receive email send out.
No, I like that. That works really well.
Okay.
I guess one of the things that
because that's what I mistook your comments.
I shouldn't have used the word communication. It was
okay. Because then I'm like, wait. Tuesday nights, he doesn't need to go through the whole list and say, you have something, and flag it. Like, God, that would take an hour.
One of the problems with trying to submit questions to Manage Comics during the thought stream is that you only get 200 characters on each individual post that you post to the little chat box. So when you have a very long, involved question, it's like, I can either try and break this out over multiple posts, or I can try and find some way to just cram it into 200 characters and hope that it makes sense. And I guessed wrong on how much sense I was making.
Got ya.
The one thing, though, I would like to see, because Shopify has completely ruined this, one of the things we used to do with Comic Suite is do more targeted emails for specific subscribers for specific titles. So if X-Men had like a one-shot or a tie-in or something coming out, we could just find a list of X-Men subscribers and then flag them in Comic Suite and then send them an email saying, hey, you're subscribed to X-Men. Here's the thing that's coming out.
Would you have like X-Men Unlimited, X-Men Green?
Sure. Or like the Hellfire Gala if we decided we weren't going to pull it for everyone. We can't really do that anymore because of the way Shopify broke the customers section of their platform. You can create segments like we have a segment for people who are Manage Comics subscribers, but that means applying a tag to those people and, adding that so that we do that. But we don't have a tag that says you're subscribed to X-Men. That would be insane. You would have hundreds of tags all over the place, and you'd have to constantly be changing them. And there's no communication back and forth between like Manage Comics and Shopify to change those customer tags. And the Shopify customer section is broken in a way where you can't just see like an alphabetical list of people either by first name or last name.
Yes.
It's the one field you can't sort by is name.
It's ridiculous.
So I can't just get a list from Manage Comics of all the people who get X-Men and then go to Shopify and then flag and go, okay, these people are one temporary segment that I want to send an email to. It's completely broken. So since Shopify seems like they are completely unwilling or unable to let me manage my customer list in a way that promotes better communication, I guess it would be great if Shopify had a thing where I could just go to everyone who gets X-Men, flag them.
You mean Manage Comics?
Oh, I'm sorry, Manage Comics. If Manage Comics had a way where I could go to everyone who gets X-Men, because I can look at a list on Manage Comics, everyone who gets different books, and flag them and create an email campaign that then I can type in like, hey, X-Men Hellfire Gala 2023 is coming out. Like, do you want it?
What did you do for this week's Superman email? Was that just to everybody?
I haven't sent it out yet because
the test one. That's I read the test one.
So we're going to be sending out an email to for people to let them know that the Death of Superman 30th anniversary comic is available for order, but probably will not be in the next catalog because the orders are closing on it before the next catalog shows up. So when you see it in the catalog, if it's there, it's already too late to order it. So we have to send out a separate email to people to let them know. But the problem is, it's just going to go to everyone in Manage Comics. Like, that's what we had to do for Batman 125.
That's fine. And honestly,
And we do that sparingly because I don't like spamming people who have no interest in those books.
But especially with Superman, Death of Superman 30th anniversary, it's so untied to anything else.
Yeah, who would I send it to? Superman? I mean, I assume there's more people who are fans of Death of Superman than read Superman right now.
Especially since it's a different character.
Yeah, and it's a different creative team, and it's a different continuity, and et cetera, et cetera.
That's why I said X-Men Unlimited, because it was Jerry Dugan. Mm-hmm. That's the connection I made.
That's a good way. I didn't think about that. So yeah, if Manage Comics had a way for me to individually target different titles subscribers to say, hey, here's another book you might be interested in, that would be great. That would be a really cool email campaign option.
And to be clear, this is not in any way a failing of Manage Comics. This is just a thing that we would like, oh, hey, pipe dream.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is specifically because Shopify can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
So it'd be great if Manage Comics took that as an opportunity to create more value for its users. Again, and I always want to throw this in as a little, coda. Shopify POS style's got to get done first.
Yeah.
I always hesitate to say, here's more stuff. And Brian explained, I like that this whole episode of Contest of Challengers, a comics retail podcast, has become a little, reaction to the Thoughtstream. Hopefully Brian's enjoying that.
Okay, so next time we should just record ourselves watching it and talking to each other.
Yeah.
Although, I wonder if, when there's weeks we're unavailable, like last week we were at the DC thing, the lunar landing.
It definitely was not a DC thing.
So we were not, there was no Thoughtstream and for us, and then next week we are unavailable.
Yeah.
So I wonder if at any point, because there's sometimes, more often than not, you watch it by yourself.
Yeah.
You get email reminders. I have to go digging for it.
Sorry.
But sometimes it's just me. A couple weeks ago. And sometimes both of us.
True.
So I wonder if, when Brian starts and he sees and neither of us is there, he's like, aw.
I hope not. I mean, I hope he understands that because it's on YouTube, I don't necessarily feel like I have to watch it live.
Because you get to watch it later. Yeah.
Right. I can, if I'm doing something for the store, if I have a personal errand I've got to run, or if I'm just, busy, I know I can watch it later, and I usually do. The ones I skip are sometimes ones where, and I'm grateful that he does these for the people who need them, but there's stuff where it's real basic Shopify stuff, where it's I've been using Shopify for over a year, some of these elements I don't need so much. So, next week's, I'll watch it, but, I feel like I could just look into the brand stuff myself and probably figure it out.
Sure. I was kind of interested in what the brand stuff does as well. I almost went looking immediately after this. I'm like, no, I'll wait.
Yeah. No, I'll take a look at it at some point. But yeah, that was a valuable part of our day, I think, was watching that. Mostly because it gets us excited about being able to do our jobs better.
Yeah.
But also the hope of our main interface for subscriptions and products and the kind of like online orders and so many elements of our store are Shopify and Manage Comics. So when those things are getting better, our whole store gets better in very sometimes obvious ways. So watching something like the Thoughtstream is when it's really dedicated to like, here's an upgrade that we're rolling out. Here's stuff that we're in the works on. Here's stuff we're going to try and make happen. That's a really exciting part of my week.
It's come up often in retailer groups about people who are frustrated with whether it be RMH or Pullbox or whatever they're using, and they're always like, hey, what should I change to? Or, I'm worried about Moby's continual functionality or whatever.
One of the big reasons we switched away from Comic Suite and RMH, I mean, some of it was like functionality and like how it was not really integrating well with other distributors, but some of it was just, I don't know how long that's going to be around for.
Sure. Yeah. And our decision to switch was because it's for the betterment of our business and for the people that use it.
Yeah.
And it's not exactly where we thought it was going to be yet, but it's getting there.
It is.
And it's going to be better than that.
Yeah.
But frequently when people are complaining about whatever their platforms are, and whoever is using whatever, they all pitch, it's the very common thing, like, oh, let me tell you my experience about the thing I'm using. And so often the complaint for the other major subscription management service is, yeah, it's real confusing at first, but there's tutorials, you can get used to it. And yeah, you have to do it their way. But, here's how it's helped us, blah, blah, blah. And every time I read that, I thought, like, well, but you don't have to do it their way. There's a different way.
Yeah.
And whenever, for example, somebody on the Comics Row boards was specifically asking for us, before I even saw the post, Jen Haynes had tagged me in it saying, yeah, because they said, hey, is there someone from Challengers in this group? I need to ask about Manage Comics. And I always get a little nervous about that because I think, they're going to ask Dal questions, and Dal doesn't see this.
You've passed stuff along to me, though.
Sure, and I do. And, like, I will answer what I can, but it's never in the depth that you can.
I mean, and honestly, same here. Like, my knowledge base is not nearly as robust as, like, a programmer's or anything. So I can, if it's something that I've had to deal with and I remember how I dealt with it, I'm happy to pass that along. But oftentimes, like, you'll pass along, like, a technical question about Manage Comics, and I'll be like, I mean, I did it like 8 months ago. I think this is how I did it, but I haven't touched that in 8 months because it works.
But then you still dug out the barcode.
Sure. Did you ever
manual.
get back to, did that work?
Well, so it turns out that right when I gave it to him, he had just gotten it from Ricochet or Rocket. What is whatever the name of the brand is that manufactures the
the
scanner.
I think it's Ricochet.
Okay, something like that.
Rocket Mobile.
Okay.
Red Rocker Mobile.
Got it. Not the wrestler.
Right.
So he had tried one of them previously and it didn't work for him, but the other thing that you had said, like, oh, you need this code, he's like, I never would have thought of that one. But it was late at night, he's like, I'll check tomorrow when I'm in the store, and then I haven't heard back.
Okay, I guess it worked.
Yeah,
if you didn't
sure.
hear back.
But things like that, it's like, I've never programmed the barcode reader, and I know that everyone always has problems with this.
Yeah.
And honestly, my lack of understanding of a lot of the technical aspects keep me from responding to people when they're like, why should I use Manage Comics? Because I can be like, it's great.
Dal will come and set it up for you.
And I'm afraid of but what about this specific thing that happens just to me? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that's going to happen with any platform, though. And one of the things that's interesting about Manage Comics and Shopify is that, like, with RMH and Comic Suite, there wasn't a ton of, like, consumer-facing stuff for RMH. Like, you couldn't go to a lot of, like, user forums and stuff because very few people were using it, and it didn't... Even Comic Suite would be like, we have to talk to RMH about that. So there was levels of communication where you're just like, I don't understand what's happening or why it's happening or how to make it stop doing that. And frequently, it would be a thing where even the Comic Suite text would be like, we'll mention it to RMH. But with Shopify and Manage Comics has a very responsive help system. So if you're having a problem, if something is going wrong, you may not get an immediate fix for it, but you will get someone paying attention to it immediately. Shopify has a very large user base, so there are a lot of people on the forums, and there's a lot of questions and answers being posted. So it's very easy, very quickly to find a discussion that's already taken place about a problem you're having. The downside is that the answer is almost always Shopify won't do that, and it never will.
Right. Your answers aren't coming from Shopify.
Yeah. So even if
They're
you're
coming
like,
from other users.
hey, it's weird that there's no way to do this. Basically, if you're lucky, you'll see a response from someone from Shopify saying, yeah, you're right, it doesn't do that.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. What can you maybe fix that? Sometimes they'll say, like, we'll mention it to the developers, or we'll put it on the list for the programmers, but rarely will you ever see a follow-up, even years later, where it's like, all right, we patched that in. It just, nothing happens. Like, Shopify's development roadmap is so baffling to me, because there's basically zero transparency, and frequently things that roll out are like, that is going to help 6 people. Like, you have hundreds of people in this forum who are like, please put this in, and you've done nothing, and then you'll just randomly roll out, oh, guess what? You can use Tap to Pay, the new iPhone functionality, to just tap credit cards against your iPhone. Okay, cool, it only works on 2 specific iPhones, and also, not many people who use Shopify are running it off of an iPhone. Like, what? I thank you, I guess, for doing that and rolling it out as a thing that you're touting in an email. But how about the actual problems people have had with your platform for the last 2+ years?
Yep.
Address those.
Don't care.
And they never will. So That's always the flip side of the, like, Manage Comics is super responsive. Shopify is a total black box, and you feel like they actively hate you. Like, so that teamwork is not great. But I always appreciate Brian Garside at Manage Comics for having to be the comic retail community's interface with Shopify, so that when they see stuff that Shopify is reluctant or resistant to do, they can maybe try and do it. Like, he mentioned something on the Thoughtstream today, where one of the biggest things that people want is essentially the ability to take product, like if you have 50 copies of Batman, take 20 of them and say these are not available for sale on the website or whatever. And there's kind of a way to do that where you say they're different locations. But it's not, it's a hack that doesn't really address the problem so much as it just gives you a kind of janky workaround. So Manage Comics is doing a version of that.
Yeah.
And they're rolling that as a separate thing that will be folded into Manage Comics, so Manage Comics users can have access to it without having to get a separate app. But they looked at it and went, okay, well, Shopify clearly doesn't care to make this a reality, so we're just going to fix it. And that's, not to keep digressing, but that's the thing about Shopify that is the biggest pro and biggest con for Shopify, is that the con is Shopify doesn't care about plussing up its point-of-sale platform or its online sales platform at all. They've given you the most bare-bones thing. A lot of the logic for why they do the things they do is actively detrimental to the way that anyone with a brain would run a business. And that sucks. And there's so many things that are just core activities that you would do with either a point-of-sale system or a website that they're just like, nah. The pro, though, is that they have an incredibly robust app community, because so many people have looked at Shopify and went, why doesn't it do X, Y, or Z? That someone went, well, I will sell you X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, we'll make it ourselves.
For $5 a month. Which kind of becomes a con again, because it's like, Shopify's not that expensive. All the extra apps you have to pay for to make Shopify usable become very expensive.
Why don't we do that? Why don't we figure out
at least
an app that's necessary and then design it and then just rake in the money every...
That seems like a great idea.
Uh-huh. I love it. Let's go with it.
It's great.
One of the things I've never asked Brian, and I'm actually interested in, is what does he read? What does he like?
I know he reads Legion of Superheroes.
Don't break my box.
I'm leaning. I'm just resting a foot on it. I know he reads Legion of Superheroes because I've seen that omnibus on his bookshelf.
That's fair.
It seems like he's a DC guy. I mean, I think he's a Marvel guy too, but I think
he was always wearing like Marvel shirts and hats, if I recall correctly. Anyway, that is a discussion for when he's in Chicago.
That's true.
We'll worry about that then.
I don't think I'm going to worry about it ever.
Okay, fine. Hey, Dal, did Hachette ever call you back?
They didn't call me back on Wednesday, and I didn't work today, so they might have called the store and left a message, at which point I'll probably have to get back to them on Monday.
So why would they call you?
So we have Hachette as one of our vendors. We don't use them a ton. Hachette is largely a way for us to get Abrams stuff, who's actually doing more and more comic stuff, like the upcoming Alex Ross Full Circle book, and the Monstrous team has a new book out called Night Eaters. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Night Eaters. So we're going to be getting those direct.
I can never tell if it's one word or two.
I think it's 2 words. So we're going to be getting those direct from Abrams and Hachette because the discount's way better than trying to get them through Diamond. But
hopefully the reorderability as well.
Yeah, we use Hachette sparingly. We used them more when they were the Marvel distributor, but now Marvel goes through PRH, and that's just way better for us on a lot of levels. Our discount through Hachette is not great. They don't have a ton of publishers represented anymore, so we usually order from them like maybe once a month now. We don't work on credit with them. We didn't try to open a line of credit because it's such a small amount that we'd rather just give them like a credit card, pay for it, be done with it.
And honestly, the amount of hassle that is involved with the other non-Diamond or Lunar distributors is such a headache that I would not want one other one.
Yeah, I think we because of the volume and because of everything else, the decision was let's not make Patrick's life any worse when it comes to bookkeeping.
I would love to prepay paying Random House, but it's just they're too big of a vendor for us, and they don't bill in any way I would consider normal.
No, even if we were billing off of like FOCs, like, okay, well, depending on the week of the month, that could be stuff that's coming out in 3 weeks, or it could be stuff that's coming out in 7 months.
Yeah.
All over the place. But anyway, so we work on essentially a prepay model with Hachette. We place an order with Hachette. They send us a pro forma invoice, which basically says, here's how much everything you've ordered is going to cost. I then call them up and say, okay, I want to pay this invoice number. I give them a credit card number. They run the credit card. If the credit card runs, then they send the books out. It's that simple.
You say it like if the credit card runs, like it's an option of like, oh, it won't run.
I just mean that like as long as they got the money right then and there, we're good.
Yeah.
Everything's taken care of. The same thing happens for anything back ordered off of those invoices. We are essentially paying for the entire invoice, whether they are shipping those books out or not. So on later, we might get a thing a month, 2 months, 3 months later when a book comes back into stock where they're just running that card for a copy of a book that they're going to put in the mail. But anyway, we work prepay with them. So I was looking on Hachette's customer portal because Tom Brevoort had sent out an email to his Substack people saying, hey, I'm hearing that the Alex Ross Full Circle book from Abrams is hitting stores.
And just FYI, Tom Brevoort's Substack is very entertaining.
Incredibly fun, yeah.
He's a comic book historian. He always talks about comics that came out on the date the newsletter's going out. And it's not necessarily Marvel, it's just anything of note. He'll do a deep dive into that. He's got a lot of great stories because he's been at Marvel for a very long time.
Yeah, he did a little bonus thing this past week where it was like the 5 books that he was responsible for that almost got him fired.
Yep.
And one of the things, not to give away some of the punchlines, but like there's like 3 books where he's like convinced he was going to get fired and no one cared.
Yep.
And it's cool. Like he cared a lot about his job, and we've all been worried about things in our jobs where it's like, oh my God, this is going to be the end of me. And then it wasn't a big deal and you were worried about nothing. 2 of them though, yeah, it was close. and things he regrets and stuff like that. And it's just, if you're a longtime Marvel or even a DC fan at some stages, it's worth checking out because I think it's a free newsletter.
Yeah.
I think he might have a paid tier if you wanted to do other stuff.
He does.
But we do the free one and it's very informative and very fun. Anyway, he'd mentioned that he was hearing that the Abrams Alex Ross FF Full Circle book was coming out, and I thought, that's funny. We have a bunch of those on pre-order, and we have not gotten ours in yet. So I went to Abrams' site, and sure enough, it still says, like, September. Like, okay. But then there was a weird, and I can't remember exactly how it was noted, but there was a weird like flag almost on it, and I went, that doesn't look good. That doesn't sound positive. So I decided, okay, well, this was on a Sunday. I'm like, well, during the week I'll call Hachette and I'll find out if anything's going on with our account. Shouldn't be because we're prepay. And on Wednesday I finally had time, and I called and I talked to our customers, just not even our customer service rep. We just talked to a customer service rep, and I gave her our account number and described the situation, like we're prepaid but we're seeing this weird thing. And she told me there was a credit hold on our account, and I went, why is there a credit hold? We don't have credit with you.
Yeah.
Like, we're prepaid. There should never be a credit hold. And unfortunately, she's a customer service rep, not a financial services rep, so she's like, I don't know why this is on there. That is weird. You'll have to call your financial services rep. To which I said, why do we have a financial services rep? We're prepay. And she's like, everybody has a financial services rep, even if you've never used them. I'm like, okay, great. So I had to call that woman who I had to leave a voicemail. So I don't know what's happening, and I very much would like to get that sorted out because, again, there are several books that we've placed sizable pre-orders for that I want to make sure we're actually getting.
Do we know if there's been any orders that have just been held? Like anything we're expecting?
I think there might have been, and I mentioned to the customer service rep, I'm pretty sure we've placed recent orders that I have not gotten a pro forma invoice on citing payment needed. So if there's a backlog, the main reason I wanted to call was like, if there's a backlog, if we owe you money, I will give you a credit card right now. We'll take care of this.
We shouldn't, and we would have no idea why we do.
Right.
But
yeah, I was not getting any communication from them. So
it just
I wasn't even getting invoices from them saying, hey, we can't ship anything out because you have a credit hold. Like, if I hadn't called them, I feel like I never would have known.
Yeah, so it's as if you are a subscriber at Challengers, and if you fall into that delinquent period where you haven't come in over a month, and your books are piling up, it's as if the analogy would be if we just take those books, put them back on the shelf, and do nothing. We don't try to call you. We don't try to email you. We don't try to contact you at all to resolve this. We just say, nope, forget it.
Yeah. That's not a great way of doing it. So, yeah, hopefully next week we'll get that sorted out very quickly. I just need to talk to our financial services rep and figure that out.
If you want to email me their information, I can call tomorrow, follow up.
Yeah, you can actually. I wrote it on a Hachette invoice because I needed that for our invoice, our numbered stuff.
Yeah, of course.
And that's in the filing cabinet in the Ingram folder, I think is where we're putting Hachette stuff because we don't use them that often.
Sure. I mean, that used to be the Baker and Taylor folder, so that should tell you everything you need to know right there about that.
So I think their name and their phone number, it's just a direct phone number that goes to them. They are located in Boston. That said,
do they have accents?
She has a very deep Boston accent. You might show up at work tomorrow and find a note from Molly Jane saying Hachette tried to call back, and here's how you can get in contact with them.
I imagine that would be in an email at the end of the day.
We'll see. It's not the end of the day yet.
That's true. A little bit to go. Speaking of Molly Jane,
okay,
she had an idea that we are running with. Over Labor Day weekend, we are going to host a back issue sale. And what that means is all of our back issues that are the $1.99 back issues that are in the boxes marked $1.99 back issues will be on sale for 99 cents a piece.
Yep, half off.
Now, we have a lot of back issues, but they're not very old.
It's not vintage stuff. No. I mean, this is... And the thing I have to explain to people when they ask about our back issues is it's basically all stuff that's come off the shelves in the last maybe 14 years. So, hopefully not 14 years old, but
sure, it
ain't going to be older than that. If you're looking for, 90s X-Men or 80s Spider-Man, it's not going to be in there.
And there's... pardon me. So, on the flyer, there's a picture of my boxes as well. Tiny little picture of my boxes. My collection.
The old location of your boxes.
No, sure, but it's still the same boxes.
That's true.
And several people have said, does that mean your collection's going to be in there? Some stuff, as I go through it, yeah. But it's not like it's just that. It's all the stuff in the store.
Right.
I just now thought of a thing I want to ask you if we're going to include.
Okay.
But this is a 4-day sale going from Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Labor Day weekend. Yeah. We're doing it because we need the room.
Yeah, I mean, that's not to get too much of a peek behind the curtain, but we are literally running out of space for back issues. Yep. And because of the way the comics industry works, we generate a stack of back issues every single week. So if we're not moving a stack of back issues out of the back issue boxes every single week, gonna run out of room.
And even if a lot of it is from the last year or so, you're still getting a $3.99, $4.99 comic for 99 cents.
It's a buck. These are brand new books that came off the shelves.
So we may, weather permitting, we may put tables out front. We probably won't because of the hassle of policing that.
Yeah, we would need extra people.
We may have extra tables set up. I think we will need extra tables in the store.
Really?
Just because, yeah, I do. Yeah.
I'm curious why.
I think there's an untapped level of stuff we can put out that we haven't.
Okay.
Which leads to,
sure,
more stuff.
Okay.
I acknowledge that it may not have the potential that you would hope for, but it's not doing anything right now.
Okay.
You don't seem sold on it.
I did not realize we still had that stuff in our possession.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was... Okay.
I mean, you probably don't want to answer this now, but where did you think it went?
Books.
Oh, no, those didn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, sure.
Okay. So as it stands, using anything else, we don't have room for. Now, we did just... we're out blowing out all of our bad idea books for half off cover.
Yeah, they haven't all been tagged in the system yet. I think I'm only halfway done.
Okay.
So there are 2 boxes that specifically say half off, and 2 that don't. The 2 that don't have not been changed in the system.
Okay. But the point is, those do not say $1.99 back issues. They will not be part of the sale.
Also, you can go to our website where all those bad idea books are also half off.
Oh, that's
true. So
true.
if anyone far away needs lot 2, 3, and 4, go nuts.
We may just pull those boxes from that shelf during the sale.
If it's too confusing.
Yeah. Because they're already half off. They're not going to be...
Although, I mean, it depends on how many you want to get. Maybe I make a deal.
Yeah, fair. Okay.
If you want one book, probably not going to be 99 cents. You want a box? Well, let's talk.
Sure. But also, we don't want it to be like the $7.99 ones or the $8.99 ones.
Honestly,
at this point.
I will have that conversation with someone. Real sick of looking at those books.
It's our understanding that the stores that have signed up for round 2 of Bad Ideas got their terms of sale this week.
I would either very much suggest not doing that, or literally club only. Club only. Don't carry them for the shelf. That's where we got burned. We lost so much money carrying stuff for the shelf, trying to grow that audience. That was stupid of us.
Yeah, so what Jen King had done, which is a really good idea, is just pre-sold everything as sets.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we were originally doing for mail order people. Yeah. But again, this is our stupidity when it comes to Bad Idea as a project. We actually cared about the content.
Right, and we thought
and tried to create readers for it, which was so stupid. So stupid.
So along the same lines, the Frank Miller Presents Company announced the drop of an ash can coming to stores.
Surprise drop. Stores didn't order it. We didn't know it was coming.
We found out about it. Was it
at C2E2?
At C2E2, yeah. C2E2. That's when the articles hit and everything. And we started getting emails from customers saying, "Hey, put one of those aside for me." Well, it's being made by the Frank Miller Presents people in order to, drum up excitement for their books.
Right.
Only there's a very limited number of them, and stores are only getting a couple each.
Yeah.
And we've already had way more people ask than copies we're getting.
Yep.
And it's the kind of thing where they keep saying, like, oh, no, we want to get people excited, and it's such a great thing. Like, it's not, though. You're manufacturing a collectible, and you're going to make the majority of your audience feel left out because they didn't get the thing they wanted to get.
Yeah, this is
and
not...
you're only going to find it on the internet for, tens of dollars.
This is not a thing we're going to place in the hands of prospective customers and go, hey, don't forget to check this out. This is a thing where people are, racing to get something that is scarce and valuable. Maybe it's because they're huge fans of Frank Miller and they want it in their collection. Maybe it's because they know they can flip it online for many, many, many multiples of free.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's and this is a thing. Anyone listening to this who hears that something free is coming out and is a subscriber and would like it set aside for them, we don't have this publicly stated anywhere. It's not posted anywhere in the store. But please listen to me and keep it close to your heart. Anything that is a free giveaway item, we do not set aside for customers. The whole point of a free thing is for you to come to the store and get it. If it's just setting aside for you, what is the point of it? So please, please, please don't ask us to set aside some free thing that's coming in. Whether we got 2 copies or 200 copies, Gotta come in and get it.
And also, if we got 200 copies, you'll have. There's a good chance it'll be there waiting for you when you come in.
It's the Free Comic Book Day thing. It's the Batman Day thing. It's the Halloween Comic Fest thing. It's the anytime there's like some free promo thing, come in and get it or don't. We will first come first serve. That's the end of it.
We will occasionally go against this rule for Free Comic Day books that tie into a series you might be getting.
Yeah, if I feel like it's integral for a subscriber to get a free comic to understand a story they are paying for,
we had the annoying discussion this year for one of Marvel's free books that was basically like a lead-in to Axe, Judgment Day.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But we didn't know, because no one was subscribed to Axe at that point.
Right.
We didn't know, do we pull it for X-Men? Do we pull it for Avengers? Do we pull it for Eternals?
I can't remember. Was it just Eternals we pulled it for? I can't
well, it wound up. You decided it was Immortal X-Men.
Yeah. I didn't know Immortal X-Men was up. But yeah, like that because it was like.
And there's not easy ways to
like X-Men. That's
to generate lists like that. So it was a lot of me like cutting and pasting, and ultimately you being like, "No, we don't need those."
Yeah,
or there was a Spider-Man Venom one as well. It's like, all right,
you were doing it for everyone who gets like Jerry Dugan's X-Men, and I went, I don't think that's going to be who this is for.
It says X-Men on it, Dale.
It does, but not those X-Men.
Yeah.
Different X-Men.
And just, like, the annoyance of how long that took just to give people a free comic.
Uh-huh. Which a bunch of them either came in on Free Comic Day, or, and this is the thing that will always infuriate me, people we had to drop.
Yeah.
When I got to drop people and I pulled free comics for them to make sure they didn't miss out on a story, it's like... Hoo boy, how much do I want to do this in the future? But I will always do something like that. Like that is, as Patrick said, the one exception to the challengers will not reserve free items is if you're buying a comic and you need the free thing to understand the thing you're buying, that I'm going to pull for you. But when it's like a promo item or something that is going to be...
It's just going to be a couple of pages of each of the books, and the people that have asked for it are people that will already be down for these books, will want these books.
Yeah, like that content, you're not going to miss it. It's going to be in a book that's coming out later. Like, this specific Ashcan is maybe collectible, but the books themselves, I'll order you the books. You can read the story then. So, yeah, that's the Frank Miller Ashcan.
So, specifically, we are not going to have the Frank Miller Ashcan for anyone. It is not a thing we're putting aside. As far as you're concerned, we didn't even get it.
There you go.
I mean, yeah, we would love to, as Dal said, be able to give it to people, be able to hand it out to potential Frank Miller fans, maybe people that didn't even know this existed, but when you give us like 2 or 3 copies, who does that benefit?
Yeah, I mean,
who does that benefit?
I guess basically what's happened is that
we have more employees who want it than copies we're getting,
and they're not getting it. And basically the Frank Miller Publishing Company, whatever they're called, I can't remember. Frank Miller Presents has not manufactured an Ashcan for readers. They've manufactured a collectible, and we're going to treat it like a collectible. Like, we wouldn't give out an action figure that like Marvel produced. We wouldn't just put that on the counter because, like, well, that's not really a thing you give away. How does that giveaway work? If and when the Frank Miller Presents people produce an actual giveaway Ashcan that we can give away because they gave it to us in enough numbers to actively promote their comic, we'll do that.
One of the weird exceptions for this whole thing is the hero trade, because we were Bad Ideas Hero Trade.
Yeah, no, I got it.
Okay, I just I couldn't tell.
I don't know where you're going with this.
Indigestion or just like for that one, we did give away, but it was a contest. After the book was determined to have been worth, like $1,000.
Yeah. Yeah, that was it? It was for ENIAC. Like, you had to, like, anyone who bought ENIAC could be entered in the drawing. Is that right?
You had to have a picture of you reading it.
Yeah, I mean there were additional criteria, but it was basically like anyone who bought ENIAC 1 through 4,
or somebody whose pull list was cleaned out.
Yeah, sure.
So those are the 2.
Yeah. But I mean,
those were 2 that we were given extra by
that wasn't a stack of giveaway books or whatever. That was again a collectible, and a lot of the people who were asking about it, again, some really wanted to read it. Some were genuine Bad Idea fans, but a lot of them were people that were just wanted something that they could flip online. Got a lot of requests for the hero trade from people that do not shop with us normally.
Oh yeah, and even if it is a thing that we get, like sometimes we'll get 10, 15, 20 copies of a book from a publisher or a wannabe publisher or whatever. we will go out of our way to make sure that regular customers who may have interest in that get it, not just anyone. You know, like if we in any way think you are taking this to sell,
and that's
we had the stupid bad idea ash can. Remember they gave us ash cans first? We had a limit to one per person.
Yeah, and so I mean that's kind of the heart of this thing. Like, I don't like not giving away free things that a publisher gives to us. I dislike that. It feels scummy and shady, and I don't like doing it. But way worse than that feeling is that I'm giving away something that someone is going to go sell online. Like, if it's a $50 book, why am I putting it out on the counter so someone can take that and sell it online for $50? Like, why am I doing that?
Yeah.
What in the world what good does that do me? Like, why am I the intermediary of that? If it's something where I feel like, you know, this is A, growing the market, B, selling more comics for me, or C, at least like making readers happy, I'll do it. But when all it feels like is like people want something that's valuable and they're going to get it, like, I don't want that. I don't want to participate in that.
We often give away freebies that anybody gives us. Like, we routinely have stacks of Den of Geek magazine.
Sure.
Take them. And any movie promotion company that says, hey, do you want to give out stuff? Yeah, we do. We don't like it when they give us, like, 5 different types of items and somebody wants one of each. It's like, no, you get a poster or a tote bag or a cell phone charger or whatever. You don't get, like, literally the first couple people try to take everything.
And, I mean, and this isn't going to sound like it's a distinction worth making to people, but we got a ton of those Last Ronin ash cans that people were flipping for $15-20 online or whatever.
Yeah.
We gave all those out.
I
don't mind doing that when there's a stack of them and I don't have to tell people no. With this Frank Miller Presents thing, even if we gave away whatever copies we're getting, I'm going to have to tell a lot of people no anyway. Why not just tell everybody no?
But that keeps it fair as well. So nobody can be like, oh, well, that guy got it and I didn't. No, no one did.
What we're going to have to do, though, and this Molly Jane job, whoever unlocks the door on Wednesday is going to have to go out there and tell people, no Frank Miller ash cans. Because there's going to be people who are going to be in line for this.
Yeah, fine. Sure.
And it's going to be like, if you're in line for the Frank Miller ash can, get out of line.
Yeah, if that's the only reason you're here. No, I think we should let people come in when they come up and ask, like, here, you be the customer and I'll be me.
Okay. How do I do that? Hi, I'd like to buy these books.
No, you're asking about the ash can specifically.
Oh, okay. Hi, I'd like a copy of the free Frank Miller Presents ash can.
Like I'd give it to you.
Oh, that hurt.
Yes!
Hurt
That's what I was going for.
Hurt my emotions.
No. Like, we want to make everybody happy, and if we can't we'd rather make no one happy. No, that doesn't make sense. That's not true.
Like, this gets back to just the most basic level of, I opened a comic shop to sell comics and promote the comics medium. Not the industry, the medium.
I like to promote comics extra large.
And the Frank Miller Presents thing isn't doing that. It's just a collectible. It's just a scarce collectible to build hype for a publishing company. It's nothing that's going to, in and of itself, create new readers.
It might lose some, to be fair.
Probably. So, yeah, no, again, they do something free with a bunch of copies that I can put in people's hands. I still might not do it because I don't know that I agree with the Frank Miller Presents company. But they have more of a chance of me distributing it that way than they do this way.
Yeah. It's just unfortunate.
It's
unfortunate because when people started asking us for it, we didn't know what it was.
No.
We were at a convention that day. And then once we found out how limited it was, it's like, oh, great.
And I hate that, like, that's the thing about this that makes me even more reluctant to even carry the Frank Miller Presents stuff. Because you're presenting a collectible, a scarce collectible, like a giveaway.
Yeah. And it's not.
And you didn't produce it in those numbers. So a lot of people are like, oh, cool, I'll just go to my local shop and grab a copy. And it's like, you're not going to find it. You're immediately introducing a level of dissatisfaction to the people who are most receptive to your promotion. Why would you do that? Why in the world would you ever do that? I mean, looking at the people who are like at the publishing level of Frank Miller Presents, I get it. I get their decision making. But I would still say maybe don't do that. Don't have that be your initial push to the audience in 2022.
There's 12,000 of these printed to be distributed to all of the stores in the world. Mm-hmm. But don't worry.
How many stores are there in the world? 3? 4?
It was over 7.
Okay.
Don't worry. They're also going to print a $1 version that you can reorder, and that'll have a $1 price tag on it. And they've already committed that print run to 12,000.
Yep.
So I'll tell you right now, we're just not going to reorder it.
I mean, if someone wants to special order that,
there's no guarantee we'll get it.
Sure. Yeah, that's true. And I always hate doing that. I hate ordering stuff where it's like, this is going to be allocated. Cool. Now I got to deal with people who thought they were getting one because they pre-ordered it, and now they're going to find out they're not.
Did that
Even
fancy hardcover Spawn person ever get back to us?
Nope.
Man.
So, I mean, we ordered it.
Yeah, so there's a Spawn hardcover coming out, and then a signed edition hardcover, which was how much more?
I don't remember. I think it was like $150.
Significantly more than the regular version. So we emailed this club member to say, hey, just FYI, it's going to be allocated. Yeah. We may not get it. Do you want just the normal one?
Well, also,
to
like,
be safe?
Just to be curious, like, do you know you ordered the signed and numbered edition, like, and not the regular hardcover?
And they never got back to us, and the hardcover is not a thing we would have ordered normally.
No.
For the shelf, so
we'll see what happens.
If we get allocated, they get nothing.
I don't think we would get allocated down to 0. Like, because we only need 1 for 1 subscriber, we'll probably get the 1. But that might be it. Because we ordered it by FOC. If they
even want it.
We'll see. Hopefully somebody does.
This was week 2 of us doing Don't Overlook These Comics videos online. And because every Tuesday night when we set everything up in the store is myself and Dal and Molly Jane, we're going to rotate who does it every time because I think it's always good to have everybody's opinion represented.
And we can't fit 3 people on 1 camera frame.
And also, it's the 3 people that'll be in the store Wednesday.
Uh-huh.
So next week, I will be the one filming and not the one on camera, but there are definitely 2 books I want to point out to people ahead of time. True Cult from IDW, which is a crime book about a kind of lazy burger employee who has memorized all the schedules of everything in the strip mall around him and decides he can rob every single store at one time.
Okay.
Yet also runs afoul of the supernatural, and it's got some heavy satanic undertones.
There's a lot going on.
So that's pretty fun. We also had supported the Kickstarter for issue number 1 of that book, so not only will we have the IDW version with a couple different covers, we will still have the, I guess, first print available.
Nice. With
the non-IDW branding. And that's drawn by our good pal Leanna Kangas.
True.
And then Hard Eyes from Vault, written and drawn by the old Jean Grey team from Marvel, Dennis Hopeless and Victor Ibanez. It is gorgeous. It is so meticulously drawn, and it is a fairly unique concept. I enjoyed the first issue. There's creatures that feed on, let me see if I get this right, like the despair of humanity, and they've like destroyed the majority of the world. So this is like the people underground.
Oh.
Yet, and like they've surviving and have their own thriving hidden community. Yet they encounter a new girl who seems clueless to everything, but yet has survived and doesn't seem like she takes anything seriously and is already causing immediate chaos.
Cool.
And there are so many scenes where Victor Ibanez or Ibanez, however you pronounce his name, and I don't want to get it wrong, has just done all the perspective and developed like the whole room.
Nice.
It's like what we give Chris Schweizer credit for. And it's like they do these like cutaways where you're seeing into things, almost like the G.H. Williams Batwoman.
Oh, cool.
Stuff like that.
That's great.
Yeah, the art is gorgeous in this book. So I may still, if neither Molly Jane nor Dal have read them by that time.
I got a PDF of Hard Eyes. I should read that this weekend.
I may yell off camera.
We'll see.
It'll be loud though, because I'll be right at the front of it. Like my voice will be right there.
Nice.
And have you, like, I think we need to plan a little better ahead of time what we're going to talk about, which we did last week, but then we had way too many things.
Sure.
So I don't know. As long as we keep it under 5 minutes, it's fine.
Yeah, I think I coached Molly Jane a little bit and said like 3 to 4 things. I think that's plenty for each person to talk about.
And her first one was X. Don't overlook the big Marvel crossover.
Sure.
I appreciate her being excited by the book and wanting to talk about it. So there you have it. It's also funny to me how we emphasized the Jim Lee X-Men book, the X-Men card series, 90s X-Men card series book, on our initial email, like, hey, here's stuff coming out in this month.
Yep.
And then it was in last week's email.
Yep.
And then it was also on the video.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, people are finding it through other means, being like, do you guys carry this?
If only anyone had warned you.
Yeah. Yep. But
fine,
I mean,
it's fine.
at least one of the people asking for it, at least, A, saw it through our promotion, and B, bought it off the website. When in fact we'd put it aside, so which fine. That's in that situation, best case scenario.
Yeah.
But when it's other people from just like, oh, here's an article I saw online. Do you have this thing? Guy, come on, guy. Guy who is listening and knows I'm talking about him. Guy is not his name.
No? Okay.
Yeah, just in case you were worried.
I was so worried.
But my name is Patrick Brower, and your name?
W. Dale Bush.
And we are finished with this episode. Thank you for listening.
Keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. Like Challengers Comics on Facebook, follow @Challengers on Twitter, and help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.